Well, for the life of me, and I got a remote control chair here. Go back up. I really was racking my brains trying to figure out a road story for today, and I just said fuck it because it is the day after Thanksgiving. I should be taking it easy, and I'm just dealing with a bunch of shit. So I thought, how about another episode of Really Weird Cinema? Now let's go back to 1970, a film called El Condor. A spaghetti western, or is it? Well, there's a backstory to everything. Larry Cohen, the director and writer, and Larry Cohen wrote a lot of great stuff, a lot of great scripts, a lot of great movies. Well, he gets a call to go over to Spain to write a movie around this fortress that they just built because they fired the other screenwriter. So Larry writes the script, it gets approved, they're going to shoot it, he goes back to the States, and he gets a call from the producers, or whatever was going on there, and they go, we have a huge problem. And he goes, what's that? They go, Lee Van Cleef won't get on the plane. So Larry calls Lee Van Cleef up, and Lee Van Cleef is like, no, I'm not doing these anymore, I've had it, I don't want to do this. And Larry goes, but Lee, this is a comedy. And Lee goes, wow, I always wanted to do a comedy. He goes, I'm not wearing a toupee though. He goes, you don't have to wear a toupee. So Lee agrees to do the movie and co-star with Jim Brown in El Condor, which is the fortress. And as many times as I'd seen this, I'd forgotten how tongue-in-cheek it really is because it's definitely Lee playing against type. And here he's a scruffy, dirty, drunk prospector named Giroux, who basically is scouring the hills and has only found maybe 3 gold nuggets or 2 gold nuggets or whatever. So Jim Brown is Luke. He's in prison, chained to Elijah Cook Jr., who was in his film for like 5 whole minutes. And he's called to the warden's office to be pardoned or something. But he had already sawed the chain loose, breaks it, shoves the pardon down the warden's throat, and tells the other convict to come with him, and he goes, no, it was 20 years ago, yeah, go and grab some of that gold for me. So he escapes, and he tracks down Giroux, who was in a bar getting shit-faced with a bunch of Mexican bandits with spaghetti western perennials, Ricardo Palacios and Charlie Bravo, and they're basically giving him a bottle to take with him because they think he's really sitting on a fortune in gold, decide to follow him. So he gets up into his, mine and basically is sitting there drinking when he sees them all coming toward him on horseback. So, of course, he mutters a bunch of curses under his breath and starts blowing them away, and then he's joined by Jim Brown. And Jim Brown tells him that basically what he needs him to do is round up a bunch of Apaches, and they're going to take this fortress El Condor. So Giroux says, well, I've killed most of these people. I think if we're partners, you should kill the rest of them. So Luke shoots a ledge where these guys are hiding under, and he caves in on it. So then they go into town to get some supplies, and Giroux is shoplifting to the point where it's obvious, and they get run out of town and tarred and feathered. Insert, racist joke there, whatever, but that's what happened. So they go to get the Apaches, and the chief of the Apaches is Santana, played by Native American Italian Chief Iron Eyes Cody. And he basically spits at Giroux. And Luke turns to Giroux and he goes, these are Apaches? And Giroux goes, you ever see Apaches before? And Luke says, no. He goes, well then shut up. So they make a deal, but of course they don't tell Santana about the gold. So in trying to keep the Apaches in check, Giroux decides to attack this wagon going to the fort, and there's a chest on the wagon with a woman's name on it. So him and Luke decide the best way to get in is to deliver the chest. So they're used for target practice by a cannon, brought into Colonel Chavez, who is Patrick O'Neill, and Mariana Hill is the girl. And of course Luke can't keep his eyes off the girl, so Chavez decides to have them staked out on the flats because when they return, blind men will be so accommodating. So while they're staked out there, Giroux works one hand loose and starts mumbling about, oh my God, I need water. I give these 2 gold nuggets around my neck for a drink of water. So one of the guards decides to walk over and relieve Giroux of the gold, but Giroux snakes his pistol out of his holster, blows him away, blows the other guard away, and they get loose. Then they make bombs out of empty canteens, and basically they go into town where the guards are having their pick of the town women against the will of the men. And Giroux tells the Apaches and Luke, don't shoot them until they're naked because we need the uniforms without holes in them. So they basically go in and blow these guys away while they're in the saddle, and some are in the saddle with each other. That's another thing. And they basically dress the Apaches in the uniforms and have one soldier that they captured to make it look real, and they get back into the fortress and basically throw these bombs and blow the water tower down so they have no water. So now they think they have them at a stalemate. So Giroux goes in to negotiate the surrender, but winds up leaving with what he thinks is a wagon load of gold bars, which it is, and it's booby-trapped. And there's a pretty cool fight between Luke and Giroux on the running wagon, which I don't know, had to be stunt doubles or something, because I know Lee had a bad knee. So they finally get out of the wagon blows up, and they decide to go back and attack in mass. And for whatever reason, Chavez's girl decides to get naked, distracting all the soldiers and some of the Apaches, leading them to attack. That scene and the non-stop violence that came next basically got one of the first R ratings for a film. So Chavez escapes, and basically Santana discovers the gold but is killed by Giroux. And what Giroux doesn't know is that Chavez had taken Luke down there and had showed him basically that these aren't gold bars, they're lead bars painted gold. All the gold was removed months ago. So now the only thing worth anything in that fortress is the girl. So of course Chavez goes back and tells them that if he loses the battle, just leave. And he cuts up Luke a little bit, but Luke finally kills him. Well, now Giroux finds out about the gold being fake and calls out Luke because he's all pissed off that he had to kill Santana, his buddy, and him and Luke throw down. And in a strange twist, and it ain't going to be the first time that the star of the film, when Lee starred in the film, he died in it. He actually gets killed and dies. And Luke really didn't want to do it. So the sad part about this film right now is it's only available on the Warner Archives Burn on Demand. And see, this was released by National General, who also released Red Sun. And for some reason, Warner Brothers has their hands in this thing, and they just refuse to let it go other than, the Burn on Demand. If 2 films ever needed a Blu-ray release, these 2 did. And, Lee still went on to do other films like Escape from New York and some Italian crime films. And, kept active up until, he actually worked for Fred Olen Ray for a bit in Armed Response, and was pretty much active up until his death. I think he was like 63 or 64 years old. But Condor is definitely a departure for him. I mean, he just completely plays against type. You're used to seeing the steely-eyed, cool gunfighter, when here you're seeing the manic, half-crazy, kill-crazy, for that matter, Giroux. So definitely worth a look if you can get a hold of it. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on Monday with some more Monster Kids. So until then, stay safe.